This next section actually really helps you think about the layout of the 60 minutes you have with students, and we've divided it up into several activities. You can use some of these, none of these, a combination of these, but this is just the example that the LRS for this study group used last semester, and we wanted to present a variety of them to you here. We've broken them down into minutes required, but really any of these could take any amount of time. So you can mix this up as you see fit. And again, a reminder that this is just the way one person approached these activities. In this case, we're starting with the student presentations of the materials. The LRS has allotted 5 minutes for that. You'll remember that 2 students were responsible for bringing in current event related news to the course in the target language for this study group, which was Chinese. Here are some tips for carrying out a successful discussion. Instead of having students read what they found, why not have them summarize their findings? It gets a little boring and may seem a little stilted if they're reading, and they're also able to express themselves in ways that feel comfortable and use new vocabulary. As students are presenting, those who are listening should also be engaged. So let's look at the activity prepared by the LRS for the student listeners. In this case, the language resource specialist had prepared an activity for the listeners. She gave them the following questions to ask of themselves and of the presenters as they were listening. Are the questions the student presenters prepared rooted in the articles? Are they tied to previous discussions? And how are they related to the relevant cultural and linguistic background of the country or area under discussion? At the end of the presentation, student listeners bring these questions back to their colleagues who had been presenting. Perhaps the student presenters will want to revise their initial questions based on the discussion. Make sure your group reformulates their questions so you're ready for the next activity. At this point, the LRS brings out the 2 articles she found while she was reviewing the student submission. She divides the group into 2, and it's always great to have an even number in each group, but we can't always do that. So you'll do the best you can. The articles get assigned, 1 to each group. In essence, the LRS's materials are helping students broaden and complicate their thinking about both Tesla and Nissan. This LRS was very well prepared and has given each group a task list. You could even take this list to lead your own group discussion if you wanted to. Each group is required to read the articles together and discuss the following questions. What's the author's opinion? What's the evidence used to back up his or her opinion? What's Tesla's market in China? And do you agree with the article's opinions and evidence? Each group discusses their article and summarizes their discussion at the end of the activity. As each group reports, members of the active listening group should be formulating questions based on their own reading. Based on what they've read and learned from one another, students are now asked to outline some key strategies for Nissan's global success. In this portion of the activity, they'll not only be drawing on their LXC readings, but also on the knowledge they have from their parent course and all the articles they've now read. The LRS for this section does a wonderful job of reconnecting the LXC articles to the case study found in the student's IBUS 311 text. She has also pulled out 3 elements from the case that are particularly relevant. Each student group takes one element of Nissan's global success and thinks about it in the context of the target language market, China in this case. The class discusses Nissan's global success as outlined in the case, including organizational culture, international strategy, and the role of innovation. These are the 3 groups into which the class is divided. Questions they will have to ask themselves might be, how might Nissan have to reshape its plan for doing business in China? What kinds of new or adaptive strategies might Nissan need? Students are divided into 3 groups around one aspect of Nissan's global success. Each group analyzes the Chinese market based on their theme, and then each group proposes plans for promoting Nissan's global success in China. The language resource specialist projects this description on the Elmo so that students can see exactly what it is they have to do as they're working in their group. students are actually applying their knowledge and doing a bit of brainstorming as they start to research and define what it is they know and the questions about what they need to know. They'll be seeking out appropriate resources to answer those questions during this working session. And it's a very active time for student engagement with one another, brainstorming, coming up with ideas and new questions as they try to do this further research. This is essentially a brainstorming activity of sorts, and students would definitely want to refine their outcomes as they proceed towards a final project or some other activity for the next session. So it's something the LRS will want to document. What are the outcomes here, and how can this lead into the next section? Capturing student questions is a great activity in and of itself. It's interesting to see how students proceed with the assignment and the different avenues they take for gathering information. Each of the team members presents their recommendations, and again, the LRS can mine this information and thinking for creating an activity for the next meeting. So we've just covered the entire process of putting an LXC class together. But how do we end the class? You should review the main activities and the key points, being sure to highlight the new questions and new resources that students developed. And you may want one student to post the important links and the main points to the Blackboard after every session for the group's use. Make sure to get students' input on the session as well. Do they have any lingering questions? If so, again, you can use these to start your next meeting. Yes, it's time to start thinking about the next assignment already and the ways that it will tie in with what's just been completed. In what ways did your meeting today and assignments for today connect with the next session? These are the connections that you'll want to be looking for as you prepare your course syllabus. One class should connect to the next. Your job is to help students start that transition to the next session before they leave today's meeting. So, congratulations! You've completed the lessons for IBUS case lesson planning. So what questions do you have now? Write these down and bring them to our training session. See you soon.